It's estimated that there are about a quintillion insects in the world today. That's a 10 followed by 18 zeros. In the world, there are around 900,000 different kinds of living insects, making up about 80% of all the world's species. In the US alone, there are 91,000 known species and about 73,000 that have yet to be scientifically described and classified. While the insects in this video are nowhere near being the deadliest animals on Earth, these bugs really do make their mark, sometimes literally, sometimes remarkably, particularly for living things that are no bigger than a human finger. In the video today, 10 insects that you definitely don't want to run into. Number 10. House centipedes. Originating in the Mediterranean or in Mexico, depending on the source, the house centipede has become a very common bug around the world. You may think centipedes look unattractive, but they're actually good bugs as they eat other pests and sometimes even spiders. Of course, if you have entomophobia, fear of insects or bugs, then this argument isn't going to help. In any case, centipedes are more of a pest than they are a threat, but shockingly, they can cause some damage. If you're bitten by one of these insects, you'll definitely feel it. Some who've experienced it say that it is quite painful, but nothing that will send you off to crying in the corner. So what's to fear? While centipedes aren't insects that are responsible for tons and tons of deaths, you'd be surprised to find out that every 2 years one person does die due to a centipede bite. This is usually due to an allergic reaction to the venom that the bug can inject into your body when it bites you. However, it's rare that someone is so allergic to this venom that it kills them. Number 9. Fire ants. While having a picnic with ants doesn't sound too bad, as most ants are harmless and minuscule compared to the human body, having a picnic with fire ants definitely isn't the best idea. There are over 280 different species of ants that sting, and one of the most widely known is the fire ant. Other ants kill by stinging their prey and then spraying the wound with acid, but the fire ant is particularly ruthless. They kill by stinging their prey and then injecting venom known as solanopsin, and because of this, when a human being is stung by the ant, it can be compared to the sensation felt when being burned. However, the sting is usually minor and something that the body can fight on its own. So what's to fear? As you'd imagine, a little ant can't do much damage to a human. All we'd have to do is make a little use of our left shoe. However, ants live in colonies, and sometimes with enough stings and enough body sensitivity, the fire ants can kill. It is said that about 5% of those who report being bitten by a fire ant die due to anaphylactic shock. Of course, this is very few and far between, but there are reports of deaths caused by an allergic reaction to the venom. Number 8. Sciafu. Very similar to fire ants, Sciafu are ants that are mainly located in East and Central Africa, but they can also be found in parts of Asia. These ants are said to live in colonies of 20 million ants, notably 20 million blind ants. They are able to travel through the use of pheromones. Out of these 20 million, there is a group of ants known as the soldier ants. These ants are the ones that are able to sting and fend off or kill prey. It is said that while these ants are able to sting, they often use their jaws made for shearing to bite. The jaws of these ants are so strong that in some locations in Africa, they are actually used as sutures which can hold for up to 4 days to allow wounds to heal properly. So what's to fear? If one is stung by a Sciafu, the bite is often very minimal and nothing that requires a doctor. However, it is said that the young and elderly are very susceptible to their bites, and some have died due to complications caused by the ant bite. Around 20 to 50 people reportedly die each year from a Sciafu bite. These ants are often very aggressive, and when you interrupt their colony, you might be in for a little bit of trouble. Number 7. Wasps and bees. As pesky as they are, wherever you go, you're sure to find wasps and bees. They could be on flowers near something that smells sweet, or they could be making a hive in a very inconvenient place. Wasps and bees are just an everyday part of life where weather is warm enough to permit them. You've probably been stung at least once, so you know what it feels like. It's usually not an event that requires medical attention unless you're allergic. So what's to fear? If you're not allergic to a wasp or bee sting, then you really have nothing to worry about. If you are allergic to wasp or bee stings, then getting stung might be more of a problem. It is said that about 53% of people die each year because of an allergic reaction to being stung. Those who are allergic to the venom can go into anaphylactic shock, which often brings about hives, wheezing, confusion, pale skin, and sometimes unconsciousness. and even death. Number 6. Asian giant hornet. You've probably seen a hornet at some point in your life, and you probably weren't too fearful of it as they're usually pretty small and easy to get rid of. However, imagine a hornet on steroids, because that's the Asian giant hornet. This hornet is said to be the biggest in the world, with a length of 2 inches and a wingspan of 3. The hornet also sports a 1/4 inch long stinger, and being stung by this hornet is definitely not like getting stung by a bee. While you won't find these hornets anywhere near the US or Europe, if you do ever make a trip to Eastern Asia, you're probably going to run into them a few times, especially if you travel in the mountainous regions of Japan. What's to fear? Well, take it from someone who has experienced it. According to Masato Ono, someone who has been stung by an Asian giant hornet, the sting felt like a hot nail being driven into his leg. The venom that is released by the stinger has about 8 different compounds, one that causes discomfort, one that can damage soft tissue, and one that is able to create an odor that might attract more hornets. Those who are allergic to bees can die from the reaction, but some die because of a chemical known as mandarotoxin, which can be fatal if there is enough introduced into the body. It is said that each year about 70 people die from these stings. Number 5. Africanized honeybee. While most of us can deal with normal bees, the ones we see all the time in our gardens, if you ever run into contact with an Africanized honeybee, you're definitely in for some trouble. Though normal bees do sting, being stung by a honeybee is much different, as it's unlikely that you'll be stung once, since they hang around in swarms. In 1956, these bees were brought to Brazil in order to breed a more efficient honeybee. However, this failed, and most of the bees were able to escape. From Brazil, the swarms of bees have reached Central America and have even come up as far as the southwestern US. So what's to fear? Because they are known to travel in swarms when a bee attacks a victim, many of the other bees will do so as well. It is said that one swarm of these bees can take down a horse. The bees have killed about 1,000 people since they've started coming up from Brazil. Number 4. Kissing bug. First discovered in the 19th century by Charles Darwin, the kissing bug is an insect that you don't ever want to come into contact with. There are 138 known species in existence. Most of them are within the US, with others scattered throughout Asia, Australia, and Africa. All of the known species are said to be able to transmit a very harmful parasite that can be fatal. Most species of the insect are known to live off vertebrate blood, while some are able to live off invertebrates. So what's to fear? The potentially lethal kissing bug is known to live in the same dwellings as humans, often making their homes on the outside as well as the inside of our houses. It is said that 45,000 to 50,000 people die each year from kissing bug bites. This is because the parasite that the bug carries is known to cause Chagas disease, which seems very minute at first but is fatal over time. At first there is just swelling at the site of the bite, but then the disease can lead to intestinal issues as well as cardiac problems. In fact, most of those who die from Chagas disease die from chagastic cardiomyopathy. Number 3. Tsetse fly. While flies alone are annoying, imagine a fly that survives by sucking blood from animals and humans. The tsetse fly is found in the Kalahari and Saharan deserts. The insect is widely studied today due to the disease that they transmit. The flies look very similar to the normal housefly we all love to swat at, except for a proboscis on their head, which is the anatomical part that allows them to suck blood. There are 34 different species of tsetse flies, all of them fitting into one of 3 categories: savanna fly, forest fly, or riverine fly. So what's to fear? Though a little fly may seem pretty harmless, the tsetse fly can kill, and they do so each year. Most of the deaths are in Africa. It's said that 250,000 to 300,000 people die every year from something known as the sleeping disease. The numbers are slowly decreasing though. The tsetse fly carries protozoa known as trypanosomes, but so do many other insects. However, when someone is bitten by the tsetse fly, the protozoas are introduced to the body and cause a disease known as sleeping sickness. If not treated properly, the disease is able to shut down necessary bodily functions such as the endocrine and cardiac systems. Next, the disease enters the neurological system, causing confusion and an abnormal sleep cycle due to insomnia and slumber. The most recent notable epidemic of the disease was in Uganda in 2008. Number 2. Rat fleas. When thinking of fleas, you probably think of a tiny insect that has landed on a household cat or dog that causes a lot of itching. Fleas are often only a 1/16th to an 1/8 of an inch long, with a dark-colored body and a mouth that is made to be able to suck blood off the helpless host that it lands on. A flea bite, whether on your pet or on your own body, will often cause a red mark accompanied by a lot of itching. Though there are different types of fleas that you can find on a cat or on a dog, one of the more deadly fleas is one you'd find on a rat. While rats are pretty scary to most on their own, a flea-infested rat is even scarier and is one that does need to be avoided. So what's to fear? While fleas are often no bigger than the nail on your pinky finger, they have been known to carry devastating diseases and germs, the most notable being the Yersinia pestis bacteria. This bacteria is known for causing the death of nearly 3/4 of Europe's population during the 14th century. Better known as the Black Death, this plague killed between 350 and 375 million people and peaked during 1348 to 1350. The rats were often found on merchant ships and are said to have spread the disease, and due to a lack of medical information and treatment, the disease spread and spread. The plague was also never fully wiped out, and there would be a reoccurrence of deaths due to the deadly bacteria. While today dying from this bacteria would be rare in the US and Europe, in many third world countries it is still very possible. Number 1. Anopheles mosquito. Once the temperature outside hits a steady stream of temperatures above 50 Fahrenheit or 10 Celsius, you'll surely start to see pesky mosquitoes flying around outside. You're even more likely to see them once the sun begins to go down. As if dealing with bugs isn't a nuisance in itself, mosquitoes are a bit more to deal with, especially if one lands on you and decides to bite. While only female mosquitoes will bite a human, some of them carry diseases that can be very harmful. There are about 3,500 species of mosquitoes. 200 of those live in North America, many carrying ailments such as yellow fever, dengue, encephalitis, and even canine heartworm. So what's to fear? A mosquito has probably bitten you at least once in your life, so you're familiar with the little red bump that may swell and itch quite a bit. It's nothing a little anticortisone or anti-inflammatory skin cream won't fix. However, in some cases, a mosquito bite can lead to a lifelong illness or even death. One of the most widely known mosquito-borne diseases is, of course, malaria. It is very prevalent in tropical countries, where there are about 350 to 500 million cases found each year, and about 1 to 3 million people die from it every single year. Malaria is said to affect at least 10% of the world's total population. These deaths are usually noted in sub-Saharan Africa, where mosquitoes are very prominent and proper care for malaria is scarce. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below. Also, why not check out another channel I do called Geographics, geography-based content that is linked to below. And as always, thank you for watching.